everyone. Welcome back to Womansplain. Today we have an incredibly special guest, Mallory Oniki. She is the founder of the Palatable Life, also a brand new author of a debut cookbook. I'm really excited to dig in and learn more about her delicious recipes and amazing content. I'm going to pass it over to her to give a little intro and we'll dive in.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here. Yes, my name is Mallory. I have been creating content online for 5 years now, which seems crazy when I say that out loud, but it's been a really fun journey. I'm doing my dream job, and about 2 years ago started working on this cookbook. It's a long process, which I'm sure we'll get into, but one that was really, really fun and similar to what I was doing before, but also very different. Expanded me in a lot of ways, but was a really, really fun process. And yeah, now it's out in the world, and I couldn't be more happy with it.
Yeah, well, we're so excited to have you here. I feel like I'm like starstruck seeing you in life, not on my TikTok.
So
I watched your Gilmore Girls
my
cookie recipe like probably 100 times. I actually tried to make it and failed really badly.
Yeah, I didn't even try. And obviously you've amassed a ton of followers online, and you have a really big online presence. But before we get into that, let's start from the beginning. What did you study in school, and what were you doing before the Cookie Club?
Yeah, I in undergrad studied finance. So
Oh my gosh, okay, you're one of us.
Really?
No, I'm one of you. I was a finance girl for sure, and did a couple internships, mostly in private wealth. That was my main focus, and liked it okay, and then was gonna get a job in finance after graduation, but was graduating in 2020. As we all know, COVID hit, and was gonna move out with my partner. He was going to law school. He got in Boston, and we were gonna move out there, and I was just gonna get a job in finance. But when COVID hit, I was stuck at home. We were stuck at home, and I started posting some content. At that point, I had a website like where I would share, a couple recipes a year. Like it was very much still a hobby at that point. But when COVID hit, I just thought I've always wanted to share more. So that's when I started Instagram, TikTok, when TikTok was very new. I was like, I don't even know what
COVID
this app
was,
is.
The very beginning of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So posted very part-time that year. And then things started to grow end of 2020. And so then sometime in 2021 is when I went full-time with everything, and then haven't looked back.
Amazing. Did you start out with cookies?
I started out, it's always been, my content's always been a little bit of everything, but pretty early on, so probably like fall of 2020, so still very early on, I started this series called Cookies Inspired by TV Shows and Movies, and that is what you guys were talking about, the Gilmore Girls cookie. Like that series just took off. Like every single video I posted about it would go viral, and I was posting like one a week, so it was a lot of cookies.
I mean, those recipes are pretty intense, I will say. Like I watched a lot of those. For me, it's like what I knew you from, and they were definitely intense recipes. I feel like it makes sense you only did it once a week. They definitely took a lot of work.
Yes, yeah, but those really took off, and I think just really resonated with people because everyone loves cookies, but then there was that nostalgic element or something that they really loved, and tying those together I just think really resonated. So that series honestly really helped me blow up and put me on the map, and I continued that for a while and then stopped it, but ever since then cookies have been a through line of my content. So I do share savory and sweet, but I feel like most people know me for my cookies. So when it came time to write the cookbook, it felt like a no-brainer to make it a cookie cookbook.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And I feel like social media is just, you got it at the right time. I think it's been 5+ years, and it's very different now versus 2020, especially on a platform like TikTok. So kind of walk us through the process of creating videos on TikTok. Did you always have an artistic eye? Did you like making videos? Why did you decide on TikTok? I know you mentioned you also had a blog and Instagram. So how did you kind of get started with the actual content creation side of things?
Totally. I feel like I felt like I didn't have anything to lose, because I was never going into it like I'm going to try to make this my full-time thing. Like I was having a lot of fun at the beginning, and I still have a lot of fun, but I never at the beginning was putting all this pressure on myself of like, if this video doesn't do well, then I'm going to feel terrible about myself or whatever, like beat myself up. That just was never a part of it, especially in the early stages. I was like, I'm going to do this because I'm having fun, and I'm going to try these different things. And I mean, I watch my old content now, and I'm like, it is abysmal. But I was having fun, and it was resonating it with people, and that's kind of what content was like. in those early stages, but it's changed so much now. So I feel like, not putting the pressure on myself really allowed me to just explore and have fun with it. And then when it did start to grow, I was able to then kind of maybe figure out a style. But even then I've changed. So I feel like you always have to be adapting in social media and trying new things. So having the courage to just put it out there and see what happens.
Were you always like a baker and a cook? Was that something you're really passionate about, and that's just sort of where it started?
Yeah, I grew up doing a lot of cooking and baking. My parents were very heavy on like eating food from all around the world, and we had lots of different cookbooks. Like I remember when I was probably 12, I like made, it was probably like a butter chicken recipe out of this Indian cookbook we have, and we have like a picture of me holding it, and I was so proud.
That's a pretty complicated
one.
I feel like that's pretty impressive for how
guess.
little you were. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've always had that passion, but it wasn't until I was an undergrad that I got into developing my own recipes, because I feel like that's a totally different skill set. Yes. So in undergrad, I wanted to get better at developing recipes, and it started to become really interesting to me. And so I would just buy a bunch of random ingredients, not random, but like I would buy ingredients without a specific purpose, and then I would challenge myself to just open my fridge and make something with what I had. And that was really a good way to expand my skills and really test things out. And I was also like a poor college student, so like I still wanted to eat well but didn't have a lot of money to spend on crazy ingredients. So
Totally.
I would just challenge myself a lot, and I think that was really, really helpful for helping me learn those things, because I didn't go to culinary school. I didn't have that formal training, and so it was a lot of Googling things, I'm sure, and just a lot of trial and error.
That's amazing. I mean, what like an incredible thing to be doing in college. I certainly was not trying to
cooking.
do that. I feel like obviously just is an amazing sign that like you were very like meant for that. And then once you started creating content, and it was like obviously focused around cooking and baking, how did you really land on cookies? I feel like they're obviously such like a traditional like beloved item, but I feel like you took such a modern spin on it. So maybe like tell us about that a little bit.
Totally. I feel like cookies, I mean, first of all, everyone loves cookies, or everyone should.
Yeah, it's a crowd
Controversial.
pleaser.
It's a crowd pleaser. Everyone loves cookies, and I love that they are really approachable.
Yeah.
Like baking definitely is a science. Like, you know,
Totally.
you need measurements, and different ingredients work together in certain ways, whereas cooking you can be a lot more free with and throw things in here and there. You can't really do that with baking. But as far as baking goes, cookies are very forgiving. Like if you mess something up or add a little bit more of an ingredient, usually it can still turn out pretty well. And I really loved the approachability of cookies. And then I also loved taking that approachability, something that people felt comfortable with, and introducing creative ideas to then expand people's horizons. So like take something that they feel comfortable with. Like everyone grows up making cookies to some extent, I feel like, or not.
Totally. Everyone
Most people
has
grow
a
up
memory
and
in
they've
cookies.
made like
Yes.
chocolate chip cookies or
Christmas
almond raisin,
cookies,
whatever, Christmas
something.
cookies.
Yes.
And so people are familiar with it, but then introducing new flavors or new techniques is really fun. So I feel like that's what attracted me to it. It's this approachable thing, and then getting really creative with it was really fun as well.
And you designed your own recipes for these, right? So like when you started your kind of cookies inspired by TV and pop culture series that really like, you know, blew up, were you, one, how did you get your inspiration? And then two, how did you sort of take like cookies that are in a TV show and make a whole recipe?
Yeah. For some shows and movies, it was easier than others.
Okay, okay, got it. Okay.
Like my very first one was a Stranger Things cookie.
Okay,
because this was
cool.
like, I mean, I'm sure
Stranger
there were
Things
a
was
few
super hot in
seasons of
2020.
Stranger Things, but it was still in its like very early days.
It was like the hottest ever in
Yes.
2020. Like,
And so when
yeah.
I thought about Stranger Things, it felt really obvious to do an Eggo waffle cookie.
Oh yeah.
So that's what that cookie was. But then sometimes like the request that I would get over and over again was a show that I had never seen before. Like I had never seen Vampire Diaries.
Oh my god.
And so I'm like then binging a whole season of
You're
the
showing
show
your Gen
to
Z
like
right now. That's such a millennial TV show. Like, I feel like I literally, Vampire Diaries was like my freaking, I don't even know, like my altar I worshipped at in high school.
Not watch it.
Okay.
Yeah, so if it was something I hadn't seen, then I would watch several episodes or Google food references or some kind of references, something that would tie in. So sometimes it took a lot more research or a lot more creativity, but I tried to take some element that didn't feel too obscure or random and somehow turn it into a cookie. So it definitely took a lot of creativity, and some of the cookies took a lot of tests, but we eventually got there on all of them.
That's amazing.
I mean, I think that is what sets you apart from other type of TikTokers that are doing very similar things, right? Like, I haven't seen any other person doing that. So I feel like it's so original. It's so relatable. It's fun. People are trying out new recipes during the pandemic because they're stuck at home. So I think that really helped with your popularity. But when was a moment that you thought, oh my gosh, like I could actually, build a career out of this? Because I know you started out as a hobby, just posting fun videos.
Totally. I remember late in 2020, I got an offer from a brand to make a video, and they were going to pay me $500. And I was like, this is it. Like, I made it.
Well, I mean,
so much money. And it
right out of college. You're right
I
out
was
of
right
college.
out of college.
Yeah.
And that is a lot of money.
That is a
Right.
lot
Like,
of
that's
money
a lot
to
of
make a
money
video.
for one video.
I mean, it's like, what, a 30-second, 1-minute video? $500?
Right.
I mean, that's wild.
That's a lot of money. Yeah. And so I remember when I got that offer, I was like, oh my God, like I think that I could maybe do this full time. Because at that point I was still like kind of waiting, like maybe I'll interview for a job in finance once we are moving out to Boston. Like it was this weird in between time. But I remember when that offer hit, I was like, oh, like maybe this is what I can do. And so that was a really exciting thing. And yeah, so I remember that was the first moment that it really hit me of like, oh, might be a sustainable thing.
How many followers did you have at that point?
I have no idea.
But you've been doing
Probably
it for
like
a year.
100,000 on
Oh, wow.
TikTok. So I think I had a pretty good chunk of followers because it was like
Yeah.
end of 2020. But this is back when brands weren't like paying influencers to make content was still so new. And so I think brands were just trying to tread the water. So I had a good chunk of followers, but that was definitely the first moment that I was like, okay.
Were you doing a lot of other partnerships with different brands at that point, or was that kind of the first main one?
That was the first main one I remember. I remember I was doing some like trade stuff, like I, make videos in exchange for product or things like that. But that was the first one that I got a significant chunk of money that felt really exciting.
That's awesome. And once you did really transition from like, this is kind of a creative hobby to like, this is my job, did you kind of go through, I mean, you mentioned like a reason you were so successful is like you had no pressure on yourself. Did you like really struggle kind of with feeling like you had so much pressure now that you had to perform, or that you like, because you were like, had to hit maybe certain metrics, like did you feel like maybe it was more difficult, or like you kind of went through a difficult like mental period?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like social media is so fickle and so up and down. Like there are times where videos are doing great and you feel like you're on top of the world and everything is going well, and then other times where the algorithm is not in your favor and videos are not doing well. And I feel like at first I took it really personally and had a really hard time with that, just because I was so new to it and was not used to like having so much external validation for like I can post a video and think it's going to do really well, and then it does really poorly, or post something that I don't think is going to do well at all, and then it blows up. Like you just never know how people are going to receive it or how the algorithm is going to receive it. And so I feel like that was really hard at first when I would have those dips to push through or to feel like I was doing okay. But I think I've gotten better at being more immune to that and knowing that you have to write it out, but it's still hard. I mean, there's still, even with the following that I do have, there are still times that I'm like, oh, what am I doing wrong, or things like that. So it definitely is very up and down. It is definitely a mental game. Like I always tell people that social media is a mental game for sure, because when the external factors are not working in your favor, you have to somehow stay level-headed or keep believing in yourself. And I feel like if people are getting into social media now, it's the same thing, if not more, of like you might post for months and get 100 views, but
Totally.
it's the people that stay really consistent with it that it does pay off for. But it is hard. It is really hard because social media is such an external validating thing.
And it's changed so much, especially, I mean, the last 5-6 years. Unbelievable how much the landscape has changed too.
Totally.
And obviously you became really well known for like your cookies and these specific series. As you kind of tried to grow and try new things, like, was that really hard too, or scary? Maybe if you wanted to like move outside, maybe like the specific things that had done really well, like how did you kind of handle that?
Yeah, I'm glad. When I first started posting, I always knew I wanted it to be a mix of things. And then when cookies started to take off, I thought for a minute, like, maybe I should just do desserts or just do cookies. But then I didn't want to like pigeonhole myself in such a small category.
I mean, totally. It's gonna get boring for you.
I think I would go a little crazy if I could only post cookies and wouldn't have enough ideas to do something like this book. Like, I think I would have just been way too sick of it. So I tried to always keep my content really varied, and like probably my second most popular recipe on my website behind the Gilmore Girls cookie is like a healthy bowl recipe that people make over and over and over again. So I've tried to diversify my content enough that I can do lots of different things, and that's been really nice, because then you can work with a lot more brands, because if you're just doing cookies, you can only work with butter, sugar, flour. Like, there's just such a more limited subset of ingredients or brands that you can work with.
Or like a bowl, maybe.
Right.
Like,
I don't know. Like, it's just a lot more consolidated. So I'm glad that I kept my content more open, because that opens up a lot more doors and allows myself to be a lot more creative and kind of post whatever I want.
It's awesome.
Yeah. And I know we talked a little bit about your first partnership that made you realize that you could turn this into a career, but social media is such an opaque industry, and it still is. So how did you kind of navigate, the partnerships, like how much you should be getting paid? How did you really advocate yourself in this industry that's very opaque?
Yeah, totally. I feel like, I studied finance in undergrad, so I had an understanding of a lot of business aspects and how investments work, how the stock market works, but I have
which
no...
huge advantage. Especially
totally.
You were really young. You were really young when you were starting out. You had never even had a full-time job, right? So the fact that you had some basic understanding, huge advantage.
Huge advantage, but I had no idea what to charge for usage or exclusivity. I was like, I don't even know what these things mean. Like, I remember at the beginning, I couldn't even like keep the two straight. Like, I couldn't remember which one was which.
You can't even Google it because it doesn't exist.
Totally. And so probably in late 2021, it all blends together now. I hired a manager, and that was hugely successful for me, just to hand something off to someone. I'm a Virgo. I have a hard time handing things off, but that was really helpful to bring her aboard, because she knew, what I should be pitching to these people. Because I was always afraid when I was talking to a brand, like, if I pitch too much, then they're going to get scared and walk away. But if I had pitched too little, and be like, yes, right away, I'm like, oh, well, maybe I should have charged more. So I just had no idea a frame of reference or what was going on. So signing with that first manager was really great. I was with her for a while, and then she moved internal at TikTok. And so we parted ways. And then I signed with my current manager like 2.5 years ago, and she's amazing and lovely. So I think, networking, talking with other people, outsourcing what I could was really helpful to just get my bearings and know what was going on, and to hand off some responsibility.
Yeah. And obviously, like, having views, like, that helps to land brand deals. You venture outside of cookies, so you do now savory foods. Obviously, we can get into the cookbook. Did you ever think about doing more like lifestyle and kind of branching outside of cooking? Yeah.
I like doing food content because I don't have to share my whole life online. Totally. And that's, I love doing social media, but I would never want to be a girl that's like sharing every single minute of my life. And not that there's lifestyle people that are not doing that I really love and admire, but it's just harder. Yeah. So I've always loved that my content is mainly about my recipes and the food I'm eating, and then I can share extra if I want. Like, I can share about my life or things that I'm doing. And so that always was really appealing to me, to have that very clear divide. But yeah, like I've tried to share more so people are following my page for me and my food and not just my food. So definitely always trying to bridge that gap and make sure it's not just they're following for my page and don't even know what my name is type thing.
For sure. And then, of course, we'd love to talk about your book and the creation of that, which also is a huge part of you. And I feel like probably part of that one of the personal brand. So tell us how you decided that you wanted to do a cookbook in the first place. Like, obviously, you're like very popular, content creator. How did you decide that this is what you wanted to do?
Yeah, writing a cookbook was always a dream of mine. I mean, like I mentioned, when I was little, my parents had some cookbooks that we would cook out of, and I just remember flipping through the pages and like marking the pages with sticky notes of all the recipes I wanted to make, and I probably made like a small fraction of them, but like remembered loving flipping through cookbooks. And I love writing notes, like to-do list. Like I'm just I love the physical things, and so writing a cookbook was always a dream of mine, but I just thought it would happen later down the line. But when I did sign with my now manager, she asked if I had ever been interested in it, and I said yes, of course. So she kind of helped me get things rolling, and then I met my literary agent. So the process of writing a cookbook I like knew next to nothing about before I started, and now I'm like, I know everything. So I signed with a literary agent, and she essentially helps people get book deals. So she has connections with publishers and editors and people that you need to know in the literary world. So to sign with a literary agent, you meet with several, and then it's kind of a two-way interview. If they like you, you like them, then you can sign. And then my lit agent helped me put together a book proposal. So a book proposal is like a 20-page document, talking about who you are, who your audience is, what kind of book you want to write, what the chapters would be, what a few sample recipes look like a pretty in-depth document of what the book will be. And then the lit agent sends that to her contacts at the publishers, and then the publishers read over it. And then you have a bidding day. There's a word for it, but I can't think of it right now. You have...
It's like a bake-off, but... Right?
Yeah,
it's like a bake-off for the book.
And so these publishers, if they're interested in your book... Oh, and then leading up to this bidding day, you have interviews with the publishers. Cool. Once again, kind of this two-way interview where you're seeing if you like the editor and the publishing house, and then they're seeing if they like you. So you're having these two-way interviews with all these publishings.
You write like a manuscript of some type, or like a
Not
outline?
At this point. At least I didn't.
Wow. Okay, cool.
There's some slight variation in things, but I did not, and most people do not at this point. Okay. And then on your bidding day, if the publisher is interested, they'll make an offer on your book. It can be 1 round, it can be 2 rounds. Mine was 2 rounds, and then decided on DK, who's my publisher. They're part of Penguin Random House, and so really loved my editor and just knew that it would be a really good connection and process, and liked the publishing house and all those things. So that was in early 2024.
Okay.
So well over 2 years
Wow.
ago is when I signed with my publisher.
Wow.
And then got started from there. So the process then was testing recipes for a year. And some people, it's a little shorter than that, depending. But I'm like, I don't know how anyone does it in shorter than that. Like, I mean, 80 cookie recipes in a year is a lot. Like, we calculated it earlier today, and I probably made, in the process, like over 6,000 cookies.
I'm sure. I mean, I was going to say
at
more
least
than
like
that.
maybe 8,000
Oh
once you really,
gosh.
like, I tested each recipe like
a couple of times.
5, 6, 7 times to make
and you
sure
had
it
edits
was.
and yeah, I mean, even if you did each one 5 times, there's 80 in there. I mean, that's crazy to do in a year.
Yeah. So it's it was a lot of cookies. So that took a year of testing and writing, the intro and the head notes and all those things, and then like 6 months of editing and making design decisions and all these things, and came to New York for 3 weeks for a photo shoot where you make all 80 recipes and take pictures of all of them, and then 6 months to print the book and announce it and do marketing on all that stuff. So all in, it is a 2-year process. Like, the shortest that someone can do is 18 months, because then it squishes down that testing time to 6 months. But
if they have like
to keep your sanity, it's better to do a full year of testing.
Less recipes, or
maybe
recipes that are less complicated or something.
Or have
using ones you have maybe.
a stronger will. I don't know.
I
or
think,
more time. This is all I can handle. But no, it was great. It was a really, really fun process and really stretching, and like very different than, because social media is so quick. Like you always have to be posting.
Yeah.
Things are always changing, but a book is so permanent, and still was a lot of work and still had to move pretty quick paced, but it also felt like slowing down a lot because it was such a long process and was something that I could think over and over again and decide what I wanted it to look like and what I wanted it to say. So that was a really fun process to do something similar to what I had been doing, but also so different.
So how did you balance obviously doing all of this and then also continuing to create content? Were you like doing the recipes in public, or was it part of your deal with the book that they can't be posted?
Not necessarily a deal with the book, but most people choose to not share just because it's such a long process. It's hard to be like, I'm writing a cookbook. It'll be out in 2 years. Like 2 years is so long. And so most people don't share much. Some people do. But I did not share much. So yeah, it's a lot to do like your full-time job of content creation and then add writing a book on top. So I think I just had to be a lot more forgiving with myself of like, I can't keep the same schedule that I was before, and that's just going to have to be okay. I would repurpose more old content of like, you know, this is an old video, I'm going to post it again because there's a new audience or people haven't seen it for 2 years, whatever. So I had to be a lot more forgiving of myself of like, just do what you can and it's going to be fine. And I would still, you know, I'd still have time to do some other recipes, but just had to really scale back my schedule, and it worked fine. Like it ended up being fine and worked for me, but yeah, definitely had to adjust my expectations.
And then did you start the process from scratch in terms of making your recipes? Or I know like in the last 5 years you had other recipes. Did you kind of repurpose that and then switch it up?
Yeah. So in the book, there's 80 recipes. About 20 of them are like greatest hits from my website. So the Gilmore Girls coffee cake cookie is in here.
Great. Well, I tried and failed, so I should definitely try again because it was.
You can FaceTime me next time and I'll help you out. I'll help you out. So some of my favorite cookies are in the book just because I think it's really fun when you have a recipe you really love to then have it in book form and something that people are making over and over again. So they might as well have it in book form. And then the other 60 are never before been seen. But I mean, I always, you know, maybe gather inspiration from my old cookies of like, oh, I've done a graham cracker cookie before. What did I do for that one? Can I use the same ratios or basic, you know, idea of that cookie in this new cookie of mine? So yeah, definitely took a lot of inspiration from my old content, but I think a lot of the flavors and cookies are really fun and really new and some never before seen flavors. Sometimes I would Google the flavor to see if it was out there in another cookie, and I'm like, oh, I'm the first for this one. So I think it'll be a really fun variety for people.
Yeah. And you were just like baking in your home.
Baking in my home, would test at least one cookie like every day.
Wow.
Like it was a lot. And I have a 4-year-old, and she would help a lot.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, it's you and I need to test a cookie, and this is something I can do with you. So she helped. She would eat a lot of the cookie
I was going to
dough.
say she probably taste tested a lot of them.
She's actually like, she can crack an egg all on her own.
Wow.
She
That's
can turn
actually
on the stand, mix it. Like she's pretty proficient.
Yeah,
Pretty soon
it's
she'll
more
be
than
making
me.
cookies on her own. So it was a lot of testing, but it was a lot of fun.
Is there a recipe in there that maybe like surprised you that ended up being maybe one of your favorites or is really creative that you're excited about?
Yeah, there's a lot. I'm trying to think. Probably the most shocking flavor is a chili crisp cookie.
Yum.
Which sounds crazy,
That
but
sounds
let
insane.
me break it down for you because I feel like people hear that and they're like, I will not be trying that.
I love
But
chili crisp and I love
Let me
cookies.
pitch it to
Is
you
it
because you're going to
savory?
love this. No, it's
Okay.
sweet.
Okay.
So I didn't want the chili crisp to take over the whole cookie because no
Okay.
one wants like
It's really spicy.
a really, really spicy garlicky cookie that's like still trying to be sweet. So what I did is I made a chili crisp brittle. So kind of like a
Whoa.
toffee situation. So it's kind of the same process as making toffee, but then at the end you add a little bit of chili crisp. So the brittle itself is sweet,
Okay.
but it has a spicy garlicky aftertaste. And if you eat it on its own, it is good, but like it's a lot. But then it gets mixed in a coconut-y dough that has shredded coconut, sesame seeds in the dough. So it really helps balance it out and really complements those flavors and is a really good cookie. Like it still has like a slightly spicy aftertaste, but it's really good.
That's so
And
unique.
it's one that like will definitely surprise people when they try it and really challenge what they think a cookie can be.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, that's so unique, and I feel like you could, partner with Asian restaurants and like Momofuku or something
Totally.
with the chili crisps.
Yeah.
Is that something that you've done before or something that you want to explore? What are you kind of thinking with that?
Yeah, I've definitely done that on cookies in the past that live on my website. The book is a little different, but I would love to do, like a pop-up with something like that. Could be really fun and do. There's actually a couple spicy cookies in the book, so
Ooh.
yeah.
Very cool. And when you were first like going through the process of creating your cookbook and you're like going through the whole process of the bidding and like going through the different publishers, did you like what were you imagining kind of ended up what it became? Like kind of from the beginning to today, how did it sort of like, if you could tell yourself 2 years ago what it is, like, would you be surprised?
No, that's a good question. When I wrote my proposal, I had the layout, like the basic layout of the book of like the chapters. So I knew what the chapters would be from the beginning. So that hasn't changed much. I mean, there were some flavors that I thought I would do at the beginning that just didn't really work, but the chapters have remained the same. So I think that like the content is what I expected. I do feel like I changed my mind a lot on the design and the look of the book.
Cool.
And I'm really happy with where it landed. I think it's really warm, but also very classy. Actually, a girl that I went to high school with did 9 custom paintings for the book. Like a lot of girls have, or people have illustrations in their book, but I wanted like paintings. So here, I can show you.
That's actually really cool.
Really, really fun.
I love
really
it.
fun paintings. And so there's a painting for every chapter. So I think we made some really fun decisions of how to make it feel really unique, but also I was like, if it's a baking book, I want it to be like visually stunning and something that people just want to have set out on their counter.
I mean, it is. It definitely is like could be a coffee table book for sure. It also
that's the goal.
It also feels like, which I feel like is a really like kind of what your content is. It feels traditional and homey, but with a modern twist, which I feel like is kind of like you. Like you're like, I'm making these cookies, this very traditional vibe, but it's gonna be with Gilmore Girls and Stranger Things and Chili Crisp, which is like very, very cool.
But it definitely still has those like the first chapter of cookies is all chocolate chip cookies. So because everyone likes their chocolate chip cookie a little differently.
That's the classic, right?
And the second chapter is the classics. So like your standard oatmeal raisins, snickerdoodle.
Cute. Christmas cookie, sugar cookie. I'm assuming.
Yeah, sugar cookie.
Yeah.
So there's something for everyone, and definitely still has those classic flavors, and then it gets into the creative stuff.
I'm so excited.
Awesome. And was there any flavor or recipe you like really thought was going to be in there, or you're really trying to kind of force maybe, and then you ended up just being like, okay, it's like not working and scratching it?
Yeah, I really wanted a mochi cookie.
Oh, yum.
And I tried so hard. But and there are mochi cookies out there, but I just couldn't get the mochi to stay soft and not make the dough or the cookie after it was baked like not turn gummy or like really like soggy-ish. And so I just couldn't figure it out, but I wanted it so bad because I loved the idea and I love mochi that I tried it over and over again. And I finally was like, I just need to cut my losses. This is taking too much time. And like, it's okay. I can come back to it later. It doesn't have to be part of the book. So that was one that I really wanted to work that just did not end up working, and that was okay. But definitely had to let it go. Let that dream go.
No, I think like maybe it's the type of thing that just needs an industrial kitchen. Like I love that you're cooking at home because obviously it's for your house. Like, do you know what I'm saying? It's like for people to buy and cook in their own home. So I love that you're replicating that, which I think is important. And I mean, now that you obviously have this amazing cookbook, I feel like lots of content creators like are going to cook these recipes and maybe like create content from it. And I'm sure lots of content creators also retry your recipes too. How do you kind of feel about inspiring these other people to kind of do something similar things? And like, how is that sort of like, how do you feel about that?
I feel great about it. I mean, I think that there's room for everyone. And I think that food is such a communal thing. Like, I think food has such a special power to bring people together. And so if people get inspiration from me, then I think that's great. I mean, I obviously don't love when people like directly plagiarize or like steal direct recipes, and you're like, that's seen that before. But no, I think that we all get inspiration from each other, and food is such a beautiful communal thing that we should get inspiration from.
Yeah. And I think there's so much you can do within this. Of course, you tapped into the cookbooks. Would you ever like open your own restaurant? Would you be a chef, a home chef? Have you ever thought about that?
I have, especially to do with cookies, but I just don't think the restaurant life is for me. I just feel like it's so time consuming, and so I feel like it would quickly become not about the cookies and would just be a lot of work. So I do have some other ideas for ventures and things, but I don't think I would ever open like a physical space where I'm, baking and selling cookies every day. But maybe like pop-ups and things like that are really fun and really interesting, but I just don't think the restaurant life is for me.
No, for sure. It's so stressful. You have to be a really specific person. I think like people who are in the restaurant business like love it. Love it. And
I want to be doing it day in and day out.
Yeah.
Like I love balance.
Totally.
Yeah.
Maybe you could commercialize your cookie recipes and sell them.
Yeah.
Or
That'd be awesome.
brand.
Yes.
Be amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And if you could pick like one recipe out of your book, like only one, which one would you pick?
Oh my God, that is a hard question. I feel like that's something that I change my mind on all the time, and depends on if I'm in like a chocolatey mood or a not chocolatey mood. But recently, my favorite is a banana pudding cookie.
Yum!
So,
oh my gosh,
I love inspired by Magnolia banana pudding. So it's a vanilla wafer cookie, really soft, rolled in vanilla wafer crumbs on the outside, vanilla wafer crumbs in the cookie as well. And then topped with a pudding frosting. It's like a vanilla pudding frosting that's really tastes like pudding. And then fresh banana on top. So I hate artificial banana flavor. So that is not there. Because in Magnolia banana pudding, the only banana flavor is the fresh bananas. Like they don't use artificial banana flavor. So the cookie's also like that, and it's just really light, really fresh, not too sweet. I also love things that are not too sweet, and the fresh banana is really nice. So that's been a current favorite, but if you ask me tomorrow, it'd probably be different.
That
sounds
like one of the
amazing.
80
It's a good one.
recipes.
It's a good one. Depends what mood I'm in.
Yeah. I think also what would be interesting for our listeners is a lot of people, young people these days, want to become content creators full time. 5-10 years ago, that really wasn't an occupation that people knew about or even existed. What's been the most challenging part of being a content creator, creating your own schedule, being an entrepreneur for you?
When I was working in finance, I just realized that the office life is not for me. I so much respect to you both because I admire the grit and the hustle, but I just really fell in love with having my own schedule. But I also think that is really hard to be your own boss because there's no one telling you. I mean, outside of like working with brands and having those deadlines, like there's no one telling you what to do or when to do things. And so it is really hard to stay motivated, especially in those dips where you feel like things aren't performing as well or you're questioning everything you're doing. Like it's hard to stay consistent and to keep getting up and to keep working and doing those things. But I think that the benefits really outweigh that. But I do think at the beginning it's really hard to know when to take the jump and do it full time. Because I don't know. I don't think it's for everyone to just say, I'm going to do this. Like it's a really saturated market now. And so I think it's smart to have a normal job as well and do social media on the side as a side hustle. And then when you feel like, you either have enough saved or you have enough of a following, you have enough money coming in, then to make that jump and bet on yourself. But it's hard to know when that exact right time is.
What was one thing that you wish you knew when you started creating content that you know now?
Yeah, I think to not niche down. Like I feel like when I first started, I felt a little pigeonholed into this is the style of content I make, or this is the style of video I have to make, or whatever like that, or I can only make, cookies. That's what I felt for a while. But to build the brand around you. I think nowadays it's more important than ever to make yourself the brand and to not niche down, which some people I feel like tell you, find a niche and double down. But I think just casting a really wide net, and you never know how your authentic personality is going to resonate with people and what people are going to really love about you. And so, I mean, they should love all of you, but to just really throw everything out there and to see what sticks.
Yeah. Well, this was great. I can't
awesome.
wait to try all your cookies.
And also see all the paintings, and clearly the design is gorgeous.
Thank you.
I feel like it matches your vibe
Yeah.
too. It
Thank
literally
you.
really feels like you in a book.
Yes.
So I can't wait to try it.
Before we end, we always end with this question. What advice would you give to a young person who wants to start their own company or be an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds cheesy, but I really think that it's important to bet on yourself and to believe in yourself. And I think we get caught up in, feeling like it is the right timing, like I was talking about, or just not knowing if you can make it. But I just think trying is really important. And if you just think in 5 years, if I don't do this now, will I regret it? Or will I wish I have done it? And if the answer is yes, then you just got to try and put it out there, because you never know what's going to work out. And then if it doesn't work, you can pick yourself back up and figure out something else. But you just don't want to live with regrets. And so if you feel like you would regret if you don't at least try, then it's worth putting yourself out there and seeing if it works.
Love that. Love an ending. Very inspirational. And where can we find you on socials, and where can we find your book?
On social, The Palatable Life, or you can type in Mallory Oniki and it should come up. And my book, you can buy it wherever books are sold. So Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Williams-Sonoma, any of those things. So go get yourself Cookie Club.
Join the Cookie Club.
You're welcome in the club.
Thank you so much for coming on, Mallory. This was awesome. I'm so excited and inspired. And thank you so much, everyone, for listening. As always, you can find us at Womansplain Pod on all socials and email us hello@womansplainpod.com and eat the Cookie Club.